Hello, and welcome to the 99 Yards / Draft Talk podcast. We're back with the end of season / start of draft season / Black Monday special for you to talk into before the playoffs kick off on Saturday. I'm your host, Brian, and joining us, we've got a boat full of 99 Yards and Draft Talk alumni, Duncan, Owain, Adam, and Stu. How are you doing, guys?
Very well. I didn't realise we were having a slash.
You never know.
You never know when Brian's hosting what could be happening. So just wait and see what comes out his mouth. Yeah, it's weird having it. It seems like a bit of a mashup, doesn't it? You know, the podcast. So it should be good fun.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Good to have everyone together for the first time this season. I'm looking forward to it. It should be an entertaining one. There's a lot of opinions to get here.
A lot to catch up on for sure.
Yeah, I'm just like an anchor man. I just read whatever's there. So if I put a slash in, I have to say it. Yeah, plenty to talk about. It's been a busy few days in the world of football. Of course, the NFL regular season finished. Playoff schedule is set, as is the majority of the draft order. So yeah, don't despair if you didn't make the playoffs because it's draft season, baby. But yeah, as well, unfortunately, of course, at this time of year, as always, some head coaches have lost their jobs. Well, unfortunately / fortunately, however you want to look at it, which we'll talk on in a bit. But first, last night the college football season came to a dramatic conclusion with the Michigan Wolverines defeating the Washington Huskies 34-13. Owain, I come to you. I know you were watching it, doing some reporting on it. Was it as one-sided as the final score suggested?
No, it was more one-sided than the final score suggested. Washington were never really in it, considering they've had a pretty explosive offense all season. It was just not there at all. Michael Penix was just pressured constantly, which meant that his normal accurate self, he just couldn't be. He was overthrowing pretty much everyone. They couldn't get anything going. Michigan very much well deserves the best team in college football and the best team on the night, and now the questions need to be answered on Jim Harbaugh's future, which is kind of the next storyline in college football.
Well, this is the question. Where's he going, guys?
Well, is he going anywhere is the big question, because Michigan have offered him a huge 5-year, $55 million extension, which is a lot of money even compared to what NFL teams offer. So I think it's going to have to suit him down to the ground for him to leave. But if there's for the openings that we've got available, you'd expect someone may throw the farm at him, because he's accomplished everything that he needs to in college football, and the next logical step is for him to go back to the pros.
I mean, he gets paid a lot already, doesn't he? I mean, before even that,
I think he just wants another bite of that cherry at that Super Bowl, doesn't he? I mean, he came pretty close with the 49ers back in the day. You know, I think that if he can do that, he's completed football, as they say. You know, he'll have won everything he can do. I think he's getting on. I think he's 60 now. I think he's gonna want that another go to just see if he can do it.
He can clearly get a team built up as well, as we saw with the 49ers. So it's on him to see if he can do it again. I think it's more managing up that is his problem rather than managing the team itself. But are there any coaches that have done that, done the completion of a college championship and a Super Bowl? I can't think of any off the top of my head. So it's definitely a cherry to have if you get both.
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Pub quiz question, if ever I heard one.
That's going to be one we're going to have to research, i.e. we'll Google about
everyone's furiously writing that one down.
Typing away.
That'll teach me to say things off the top of my head.
I was disappointed not to see him in his pale chinos last night. Most amusing to see him dodge the ice bath. I think one of his players copped it when he dodged it. That was funny.
He got him eventually, though.
You can't escape the ice bath.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it all. I watched highlights. I felt it was sort of turned on half time. That interception on the first play after half time. With a touchdown, they would have drawn level, and maybe something could have happened, but they just fell apart, didn't they, in the second half once that happened. Huge shame as someone who follows the Huskies, and as Owen said earlier on Twitter, we were briefly chatting, they're going to lose a lot of players to the draft. This could be their only chance for several years now, which is a shame, because they're a fun team with a cracking uniform. So it's good to see them in the big game for a change.
Yeah, so most of the teams that get, Georgia, Alabama, even Michigan, that usually get this far, they're built to go again next year. They're used to losing, double digit amount of players to the NFL. Washington isn't built like that, so it's extremely interesting to see what they'll do next year, especially because they're going to be entering the Big Ten. They play Michigan again next year, and play a host of other huge names. It could be a difficult season, but who knows? The injuries mounted up for them. Dylan Johnson at running back was injured going into the game. He had an injured, I think it was right knee and left foot, and then injured the other foot during the game. So he was effectively just playing on one knee. And then Michael Penix was holding his ribs the whole game after taking a sack. So it was just never going to be their day after that interception. Like you said, Duncan, it was a huge turning point when you think if they can get a touchdown here and they're within reach, and then you could just, the life went out of the stadium slightly. You kind of knew what was going to happen. On the question of the three head coaches, there's three of them. If anyone wants to take a guess.
Saban.
I've just seen, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Could have made myself look very clever.
Save them.
I've
Take them in the comments for people who are listening. There's three head coaches who have won a national championship and a Super Bowl.
Duncan should definitely get one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Pete Carroll with USC. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's two other
Reggie Bush and all that. Sorry, blasted it out. Yeah, of course.
There's two others. Leave them in the comments.
Yeah.
What a tease. Well, there we go. Time will tell if Jim Harbaugh heads to the NFL. There are currently 6 jobs available. The Raiders, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Falcons, the Commanders, not Commandos, and I always do that, and the Titans.
I think that should be their new name.
Yeah.
The Washington Commandos. Could you imagine the logos you could get from that? Or the outfits people could wear at the games? Be magic.
That's it. And you'd never know for sure if it was or not. Very personal. But yeah, so there's 6 jobs available, guys, and I'm going to put it to you. Of those 6, currently,
I'm recording in about 3 minutes. There could be another one.
That'd be typical. Just as we release the pod, no doubt. There may well be another one or 2, probably one. But yeah, screw Jim Harbaugh for now. Which jobs would you guys like? Stuart, I'll come to you first. Where would you like to be head coach next year?
I'm going to say the Washington Commanders.
Commandos.
Oh, Commandos. Yeah, we're going to rebrand. We're going to rebrand. When I take the job, we're going to be the Washington Commandos for the 803 brand in 4 years. For me, I think they had a pretty disappointing season, but it was a season that I think not many people were surprised with the Washington Commanders have finished up. They didn't have the roster that was going to compete in that division, and they traded away 2 of the main pass rushers during the season. Chase Young, Montez Sweat were both jettisoned. But I think they've got an owner, pardon the kind of Scottish turn to this phrase, he ain't going to fanny around. As the owner for the Commanders, Josh Harris. I think he's someone who means business. He is already setting up a team to help look for that new head coach. He's drafted in a former GM Rick Spielman. He's also brought in the guy from who's been involved with the Golden State Warriors, Bob Myers. Obviously building that dynasty there, coming over from the NBA to help in the search for a new GM and head coach. So the ownership group, it seems better than they've had in a long time. They have the most cap space in the league. They've got a sitting at an $86 million cap space for 2024, which is $7 million more than anyone else, even at that level. So they've got a good lot of cap to rebuild that roster. They don't have a lot of people on the books that you really are going to be considering paying big money for either to retain. I mean, the headliners in their free agents this year, Curtis Samuel, are you going to be bothered that much if he walks? Kendall Fuller, the cornerback, and probably Antonio Gibson's the next one. I mean, of all these people, are you going to be wanting to shell out money for them to keep? It's not a big deal. Even looking at the following year, thinking of big contracts that they've got to save money for, they don't really have anybody either in the next coming years that, I mean, the biggest coming up free agents the following year are Charles Leno, Logan Thomas, and Jamin Davis. Again, so you're not holding back that cash. So they've got a lot of money to spend. They've got decent amount of draft picks. They've got the number 2 overall pick in the draft as well. You've got a hell of a lot to play with there to stamp your authority on a team, stamp your vision. You're going to get, you're not going to have to be picking up other people's failures, trying to work with their quarterback or whatever, because you've got the ammunition to pick your own. You've got a whole lot to work with. In your division as well, the Giants, okay, who's going to see what's going to happen there? The Eagles, although they are a good team, they're an aging team, and I think that they're just starting on that turn that they're going to have to start rebuilding. The Cowboys, very good side, but they can be erratic. You just don't know at times what might happen with the Cowboys. Sorry, Brian. So in the next couple of years, there's a lot of ammo to make the Washington Commanders a force in that division. So that's a team I'd want to pick.
The other thing to consider is that you mentioned they've got a lot of cap space free. They're also a new ownership group who are going to want to spend money and really stamp as well. So that not only have they got the cap space, you'd have thought they're going to use it as well.
That's a good point, actually, because I was thinking that the franchise has been so down in the dumps for so long that you take all out of it, that almost you're going to have to sell the vision of the Commanders to the head coach if you're wanting one of the big names. If like we just said about Jim Harbaugh, if he wants to come over, you're going to have to sell him, look, this is what we can see in the future. But with everything they've got and the money that they can chuck about, maybe it's slightly different this offseason for the Commanders.
Absolutely. And like you say, with new owner, he'll be throwing the cap money, but also the extra money that could bring in someone like Jim Harbaugh. So, Duncan, who would you like to work for? Or coach?
Yeah, I'm gone for the Chargers, and in the last half hour, I'm rethinking it already. But it comes down to one thing: is that they've got their quarterback. A lot of people don't like him, but I think Justin Herbert is an extremely good quarterback, and I don't think they need to think about anything to do with him at all. Going forwards, you talk about your Commanders. They've got Sam Howell, who played all right. And they might pick someone in the draft, a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, and what are they going to be? They're draftees. They could equally, not be very good as they are good. So they've got Justin Herbert and a lot of playmakers around him already. You've got Eckler, Williams will be coming back from injury. I think they picked a new wide receiver in the draft, first round last year. I can't remember his name.
Woods Johnson.
Thank you very much. Good job, you guys are here. And even on the defensive side, Khalil Mack's still up there in sacks and Derwin James as well. They've got a lot of great players already. If you want immediate success, which is what the league's all about these days, they seem made for it. And then I reconsidered because they got the Chiefs, they've got the Broncos in their division. You make such a good point about the commandos. In that, the Cowboys and the Eagles, they are strong at the moment, but as you say, will they remain so? For the Chargers, it's going to be a difficult road because they'll always be going up against Mahomes for the next 10 years. So I like my pick. I think they're thereabouts. I think they just had the wrong coach. I think they could have done a lot better than they did this year. They're ready made for possible instant success.
The Chargers were the team that sprung out to me just because you have got that quarterback there. It's there's not an asset that you have to try and find. But a lot of the big pieces they have are either under big contracts that you're going to want to unload, or they are aging players, particularly at the skill position point. So it's a case of how long that rebuild is going to be. The next year is probably going to be a write-off in terms of salary cap and what assets are going to be left on the team in year one. So it's a case of whether you want the quarterback or the skill position players, I think.
Yeah, someone like your Keenan Allen, your Austin Eckler, how much longer are they going to be at the top of their game?
Eckler's a free agent and won't be re-signed. He's going to be gone because of the money he wants. Stu, and I know that we both probably disagree with what's being on it, because I think it was the last podcast we did.
Mhm.
It was looking at the situation with the Chargers. They are in a hole and a half. They need to clear £40 million worth of cap to get under it for next year. It's a very difficult situation. The draft picks have not been great. Free agent signings have been terrible. That's why they're cleaning house there. I think it's very difficult to see success at the Chargers in the next couple of seasons, because the aging players that you're going to have to get off the books. I'm trying to think back. I'm sure there was like 7 players that were taking up about £100 million, $100 million worth of cap.
Oh, there was
It's
Khalil.
Ridiculous.
There was Mack. There was Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Bosa, Derwin James, Herbert, and somebody else.
And then you remind me of the name, the corner who has gone, JC Jackson. He's 20 million on the cap to play in New England.
He's on a massive contract, isn't he?
Absolutely crazy, the stuff that's gone on there. It's gonna need some real leadership to correct things, and as well, I think they'll probably go for someone who's experienced rather than maybe someone who's new, who can kind of take control of things there in Los Angeles.
I take the original point though, Duncan. You obviously look at the teams available, and half the teams in the league, if you've got a quarterback like Justin Herbert, you can make things happen, and they're a pretty laid back franchise. You're not going to need to win loads in your first year. We're looking long term, so you can get away with a bit of a reset.
Be some young offensive minded coaches who go, give me that, I can do something with it. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But you when you're taking the whole of it together, there's some other situations there. I think, if I think in Ben Johnson, who's like the big name right now, isn't he? That everyone apparently wants Ben Johnson. Am I picking the Chargers over some of the others? I don't know.
There's 2 schools of thought, isn't there? Can you build a team and then drop in a quarterback on a rookie contract? Huge risk. Or would you rather just have that quality quarterback already, who's already taken up a load of the cap? 2 schools of thought, which equally, which one's right? Depends who's running things.
So if I'm Ben Johnson in particular, and he was exactly the example I was going to say, I think there's a landing spot ready made for him, as long as he's willing to hold out on a quarterback or find someone slightly later in the draft. I'd be taking the Falcons personally. The amount of skill position players that you have there, he could really have some fun building up an offense, assuming he wants to move from offensive coordinator up to head coach. But with Drake London, Van Jefferson as a small time player, but Bijan Robinson as well, Tyler Algier, and Kyle Pitts, just to get you started, he's got one hell of an offense to build there. The one problem is you don't have that quarterback. So it's just it's the challenge. They've got a decent secondary to build around. And I'm sure you can elaborate more on where the Falcons or why the Falcons are a tasty pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd because when you phrased it like the way you did, Brian, was who would you like to be head coach of next season? There's absolutely no way I'd like to be head coach of my own team, but I think the Falcons is probably the tastiest of the landing spots, just because of everything you've got, and then assets that you have. A fair chunk of space, still about 40 million left. Obviously, you need to sign your draft picks with that, so you're probably half it to about 20 to go out and sign someone. You're going to have to pick up Kyle Pitts' 5th-year option, I'm guessing, and the same with. Which I'm phrasing here because I do think the Falcons should explore the Justin Fields trade. If it's available, then you would be picking up his option too, because you wouldn't be bringing him in to not do that. That's going to cost. And then you've got the 8th overall pick for about the 20th year running. The Falcons just live at the number 8 pick at the moment.
You're also hoping that Jacksonville pick up Calvin Ridley on a contract, because then do you get it? Is it a 2 that you get for that?
Yeah, so it's currently a 3rd. It'll go to a 2nd, which basically I think you can package up for Justin Fields. I think maybe it's something like a 2nd or a 4th, or maybe because the Bears pick number 9, I believe. So I was thinking maybe there's a pick swap involved, whether that they go to 8 and then you go back to 9, a bit like the Jets did with Aaron Rodgers. There's something that can be done there. There's no doubt about it. If the Bears are open to it, you do that, and then you use that 8th pick on another receiver again, because although all the assets that the Falcons have used, another receiver outside of Drake London, you probably can't name one, because Van Jefferson's not going to be re-signed. Matt Collins is another
special
free
teamer,
agent.
Dolphins special teamer Matt Collins.
Yeah, he's a free agent again. So you could create the defense is already good enough. And then you throw in two names that you can get. I think that is extremely enticing for an offensive-minded coach.
And a strong offensive line as well.
Yeah, offensive line is decent. You're right. Yeah, I think there's a lot to like there. There's the one thing that's been the problem is the quarterback, and not being able to use the weapons which the team already have and basically wasted money investing in because they're not being used. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like there.
But who would you like? Which team would you like if you picked one, or just not?
Well,
pick the Falcons?
yeah. Well, I think the Falcons is the. I think if I was just a coach, I think the Falcons is the most enticing team right now, just because of what they already have. You don't really have to do very much on defense. Jeff Okudah is going to be a free agent. You could probably re-sign him, fair enough, because he's not going to cost a whole lot of money, and you can draft a cornerback in the 2nd or 3rd and no bother. I think the team's set, especially in a division which is pretty pants right now.
Lots of drama though, isn't there? Booting off with that last second touchdown.
It's never boring with the Falcons. There's always something to whinge about.
I'm going to say I absolutely loved that last play. I don't care if Dennis Allen called it or not. Absolute shithousing your opponents, your enemies.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's like something out of a Jose Mourinho school of coaching. Do you know, it's just funny, and the fact that Arthur Smith went bananas at it. If you get the opportunity to do that to your rivals, why would you not do it?
I think it's just funny. The bananas thing, not defending Arthur Smith because he's been crap for the last 3 years, but it's the fact that they were in victory formation. And then there's the risk of injury and all that.
That makes it even funnier, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, originally it's because they're driving up the score, right? And you think, I don't know whether it's because we're in this country and there's the driving up the score thing. I don't really get. Like, why would score as many points as you can? Like,
and don't have meaningless plays where it's literally the point is not to do anything, like a victory formation.
If you don't like it, stop it. It's not.
None of this polite
I used to have a football coach in primary school who, when we're whacking a team, used to say, "Oh, don't beat them too much. It's a shame." And we'd try and whack them. Oh, let's get another 20 goals. This is hilarious. You know, I still haven't grown out of that mentality. I thought it was hilarious.
That being said, it probably should have got Dennis Allen fired just because he clearly lost the locker room.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And their strength of schedule was like the easiest in the NFL.
The worst in the whole league.
Yeah, they still failed to make the playoffs. And what are they, like 80 million over the cap? They've got the worst cap situation again in the NFL. So
according to SpotTrack, they are minus 75 million.
Wow.
This is kind of where I wish football was a bit like baseball in terms of if they would be absolutely going for with the pitching next time. I wonder what the next Saints Falcons game is going to be like after the end of Sunday.
Hate each other anyway. Yeah, tasty.
Well, yeah, and that
it just makes it a bit more spicy, doesn't it? That's what we like. Oh, good stuff. So nobody wants the Panthers job.
God no. That owner, really?
Tumbleweed there.
David Tepper, he seems like a chilled out, reasonable guy, doesn't he?
No, he might as well put a headset on him and let him call the plays.
And he also his drink at a fan, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I mustn't say anything really. It might be coming from me.
You see he's a guy who bought a house for like 40 million to demolish it because he didn't like it. You know, it's just like an absolute bampot. It's like
it was also like someone that he worked with that he didn't like or something.
So he bought their house for like 40 million to demolish it just because, you know, you're just a twat. You know, just I wouldn't work for him. Well, I probably would if he paid enough. I wouldn't care.
That's editing out the window. That's gone. I thought we were going all right there.
Sorry, it's always me lets us write
In
down.
fair, it's accurate.
Is the quarterback good? Hung jury
He's good
still?
in college.
Oh,
I don't think you can blame him.
I think there was
No.
someone on Draft Talk who didn't have him as a number 1 quarterback coming out that year.
I think there was 2. It was only me that did.
Oh well, I'll let you off then.
Thank you.
And fair enough.
But you're right.
You can't look at what's going on there. You can't blame him. It was one of those where you have to put him in the right situation, as it is for most quarterbacks coming out of college, right? And it's just you just can't see it ever getting right soon.
And no offense, but if at this stage in your career, if Adam Thielen's your best receiver on your team, you're going to struggle. I mean, Adam Thielen's been a great player, but he's almost as old as me now, and I think he wasn't set up for success at all, Bryce Young.
Yeah.
No offensive line, no weapons. What's the guy meant to do?
Yeah, I feel for him though. By the time he actually starts his second season, he'll have like 3 or 4 different coordinators, 3 different head coaches, and including how do you get any sort of stability? Even with the lack of talent around you, that's not fun. But we'll see. Can change quickly in the NFL. Right, let's look forward to this weekend's playoff matchups. It should be good, looking good. This super duper wildcard weekend. The bookies have 4 of the games within 4-point spread, which is nice. Should be nice and tight. So we'll focus on them 4 for now. Duncan, kick us off the first game, the sort of Saturday night for us in the UK. The Browns Texans. What do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah, I mean, I was assigned the Cleveland Browns to sell them as how they're going to do in the playoffs. So I immediately thought, you bastards. I thought they were going to be one and done.
That's all I mean.
But looking into them, I'm sort of coming round. I know they're playing away at a really good Texans team, but it's an inexperienced Texans team. They've got great players, not just the quarterback. You've got Stingley on the playing tremendously at corner. I really liked him in college as well. They've got a really good young team. I thought they were shooing for the win, playing at home. And they may still well be, because the Browns, their 2 best players are injured, the quarterback, the running back. But they played really well anyway. They are playing the sort of offense which protects that quarterback and also hides the fact that they're playing 2 reserve tackles. They've got 2 reserve tackles, but they still have the probably two best guards in the league. Their reserve running backs in Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford are playing tremendously well, and names like David Njoku, who went quiet for a couple of seasons, I'd say, he's having a fantastic year. They've got Amari Cooper. Brian knows all about him. He's a great player. They're playing very well to what they have. They've got the best defense in the league by some metrics. Which includes Myles Garrett, probably the best defensive player in the league. They got as much chance as anyone else. Just a tidbit of information for you: Joe Flacco will pull ahead of Tom Brady to have most road victories in the playoffs if they win this weekend. So he's no slouch. He's won a Super Bowl.
It's because Brady never played on the road.
Well, quite. They're level at the moment. I think it's on 7, but you could pull away. He's a Super Bowl winner himself. They've got pedigree. They've got good players. They're playing well within their limits. I'm not disheartened by them as I was before I actually looked into it. It could be a really good game.
I'll be honest. Reading the tea leaves from UK Ravens fans, I think the Browns are the team that they're the most worried about, just between the setup of the playoffs, and I think there's a bit of, we know what Joe Flacco can be like in the playoffs as well. So there's just something, it's a bit of magic going on in Cleveland. So it's a decent chance of it happening, of them going to Baltimore next week, but we'll have to see, obviously, assuming they win, how the seedings fall.
Their defense is really, really good. They fly around the field and all 3 levels, really. They've got really top guys at each level of that defense, and they work as a unit really well. They're really very well coached. And I think, for me, that might be the undoing of the Texans is how well the Browns defense plays.
Yeah, the Browns were good. Well, apart from obviously they lost to the Bengals on Sunday in a game that didn't really matter. They won the previous 4 before that, including a win at the Texans. So I don't know if that means anything, but yeah, they're in pretty good form, and I guess I fancy them. But I guess we should probably give the Texans a bit of credit. What a season they've had. And I think they go into this game with a chance. They've certainly, they've got a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, but they're certainly not playing like it. And I know they've got a couple of injuries, but I think they'll give them a good. I think they'll give them a good go.
Yeah, couldn't you just see the headlines? Everyone's just losing it for the Texans quarterback. I mean, they anointed him MVP mid-season as a rookie. I know that's changed hands a couple of dozen times since then, but I could just see in the media frenzy now. It could go either way.
It just shows what a good off-season can do, because I think it was Connor Rogers off the Stock Exchange podcast, which I listened to before, and we've had his co-host Trevor Sycamore on the pod. He said that they could have the head coach of the year, the coordinator of the year, the offensive rookie of the year, and the defensive rookie of the year, because they have been that good. Considering we thought that they would be in for the number 2 or 3 pick again this season, it's absolutely mind-boggling how well they've been able to turn it around.
I think they really kicked off things when in the draft, when they were really aggressive. After they'd picked Stroud, they went back again, and I think that just showed their intentions were actually not going to mess around. I think people have kind of queried that, whether that was a smart move or not, but I think they thought, no, we're really going to start building something here, and it all really kicked off from there.
People hated it. I was not sure I queried. They hated that. I loved it. I thought, just go and get the best players. Why not?
I'm surprised other teams allowed them to do it.
Sorry, go on, Adam.
I'm surprised other teams allowed them to do it, but the problem is that half of the players aren't healthy, or certainly in terms of their key players like Tank Dell and Rebecca and CJ Stroud is only just coming back from injury himself. So it's whether they can. Both teams are running how well they can play, and Will Anderson was questionable at the weekend as well, I believe.
Yeah, it's indecisiveness in the front office has kind of got them into this situation where they were split between, do they take a quarterback at number 2 or do they take the edge rusher? So they just went, well, just do both then. And my word, has it paid out?
Yeah, like you say, imagine if it didn't and they were in a similar position to the Panthers, but didn't. Here they are. Right, moving on. The Chiefs travel to the Dolphins. Adam, what's your take on this one?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, sorry, I've got the stupid Google when they put the... Yeah, okay, whatever. Dolphins head over to the Chiefs. That's the sort of late Saturday night, early Sunday morning game. Adam, what's your thoughts?
We've completely thrown you there, Brian. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
For me, I kind of wish both of these teams were playing someone else, because we want to know what they're really like, and we're going to knock one of them out in this stage. First of all, I know it's a weird thing to start with, but I'm curious what the weather's going to be like in that game, because if it's crap, if it's wet, if it's windy, if it's cold, I think the Chiefs are going to win, because they've got a good defense, and I think the Dolphins' offense is going to struggle in those conditions. The Dolphins, they've had a fantastic season, but they have struggled when they've played against good teams, Dallas aside. Or nearly made a Dallas joke there, but I thought I'd hold back. So when they played the Bills twice, when they played the Ravens, when they played the Chiefs originally, the offense hasn't fired. It looks like they're going to have the key players back. Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert didn't play at the weekend, but I think they could have played if they really, really needed to. But they thought it was best to make sure that they were fit for the playoffs, which fair enough. But it's meant that you're going on the road rather than hosting the Steelers this week. But then the Chiefs haven't been any great shakes either this year. They've limped in the most unconvincing season possible to the 3rd seed in the playoffs, in what was a relatively weak AFC in the end. And you just get the feeling, okay, they're going to switch it on now. They've got Patrick Mahomes. They've got Isaiah Pacheco. Travis Kelce, admittedly, he's getting a bit old. But it just hasn't happened yet. And as I said, if the weather's okay, then maybe it's going to be a shootout. But I don't think the Chiefs can handle the Dolphins if the Dolphins get going on offense. It's just whether they can do that in the first place.
Yeah, as might sound weird, but as a Dolphins fan, of all the teams in the AFC playoffs, the Chiefs were the team I would have rather played out of any of them, which sounds really bizarre when you think they've got Patrick Mahomes. But the Chiefs have been really spluttery this season. They haven't really clicked on offense. They've played well on defense, but you mean they've lost games to the likes of Denver and all these kind of games, and they've just not been firing. I wouldn't want to play the Cleveland Browns because of their defense. I don't want to play the Texans because they're young and fearless. They've just got no fear. We're here for the right. Let's just go for it. Bills just out of the question. I don't want to play the Bills ever again. Although we have to play them twice a year. I'm fed up with the Buffalo Bills, and I would not want to play Mike Tomlin in a playoff game either. So conversely, we've landed at the Chiefs. I still think the Chiefs will probably have enough because it's at home, but I think that's a team that would have a best shot at.
But aren't the Chiefs just going to start playing playoff football now? And I know it's getting.
I don't know. They've said that
boring,
all season. I'll wait till the Chiefs' offense clicks. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, it's the playoffs now.
It's getting late early. It's the one team that I think they've got enough credit in the bank that you think they've surely got something. If it was anyone else, like we're going to go on to the Eagles, and you've lost to a defeat to them, even though admittedly they went to the Super Bowl, but they've had a shorter time of being a big team that's up there. But as we said, they've looked. You thought they've got to click at some point. They've got to click at some point. But I think they've just lost a bit of their invincibility. A bit like the 49ers on Christmas night. You don't have that unerring assurance that they're going to come through. I will probably back the Dolphins to win that game. But again, it depends if the conditions are right for the offense to play, given how much speed is needed in that on that offense.
Such a good point pointing out the weather, because it's going to be horrendous conditions apparently that they've scheduled the game for that time slot, because it's going to be so cold that they couldn't have played it any later than 4 p.m. Eastern. That lows of -5 apparently is what I'm reading here, and 20-mile-an-hour winds. You would think that lends its hand to the running game, right? And then I would think that the Dolphins have the better running game, but then Miami isn't used to playing in that kind of weather. The coldest Miami game ever is the headline on this CBS article I've got in front of me right now. I can't call it, which is exactly what you want from a playoff game, right?
Definitely, but it's not the Dolphins running game is good with Mostert and Achane, but it's a speed running game rather than a punishing power up the middle running game. It's kind of like the 2018 Falcons offense of a running game of it scores quickly. It's not you're getting 3 yards and you're wearing the defense out. So I don't know if it's going to have that same effect, even if it is the best way to manage the game given the conditions.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill revenge game as well in the snow. Bring it on.
It's all right. They've got the big jackets and the big, heaters. They'll be fine, surely. But yeah, two good games for a Saturday. Exciting. Yep. All right. I've got you kicking us off with Rams Lions. What are your thoughts?
Another good game. The matchup.
Jared Goff revenge game.
Exactly. Like there's storylines all over the place, isn't there? It's Jared Goff going back, Matthew Stafford returning to Detroit. There's hype videos going around that his wife's posted on Twitter. Again, I'm not sure I can call this game because the Rams are hot. Who thought that was going to happen?
Yep.
Thought, again, preseason's like that they're going to be drafting a quarterback. They're going to be top 5, 6 in the draft. No. Puka Nacua with the best rookie season we've ever seen from a receiver, breaking Jalen Waddle's record for the most reception. Not Jalen Waddle. CeeDee Lamb's record for the most receptions, right? Or was it?
I think it's Waddle.
Waddle, and then it was the record for the receiving yards from the 1960s. Unbelievable considering he was a 5th round pick. another game. It's just so difficult to call. Who trusts the Lions in the playoffs? Not me, but
There's something about
who
them, though, isn't there?
knows? Who knows?
I think Sean McVay is still one of the best coaches in the league. Where he's got this team to be a playoff team, and I'll hold my hands up when we were doing predictions. I had the Rams taking the number 1. That's what I thought of their roster at the start of this season. So I'll take a loss on that one. But he's done a phenomenal job, and I think he has the ability to outcoach anybody. And I think that they may have the potential to bamboozle the Lions because Sean McVay is so creative in what he does as a play caller, as a coach. I think the Rams have the momentum going into this game, and I would have them slight favourites.
I think it might be one of those games where who scores first. I think if the Lions score first, they can start playing with that freedom that they play with, that style. Whereas if the Rams score first, I think they're going to grind it out, make it really boring. Yeah, I think who scores first, who gets in that lead, could be extremely important in that one. I
agree. The Rams are hot there. They're probably the most interesting sort of proper wildcard team. I'm not counting the Dolphins in that because they should have won the division effectively. The Dolphins and Bills are both well-known teams, whereas the Rams are sort of the true sense of a wild card. So it'll be I back them. But the one thing is, I think Dan Campbell's going to have the Lions willing to go and ready to go for a playoff game. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league at the moment. It's certainly of the next generation coming through. But my big concern for the Lions is they had a dreadful week 18 in terms of injuries. Crucially among it is Sam Laporta, who's been key to their offense all season. I don't think he's going to play, although it sounds like he might have an outside chance of playing. And I think their offense is really going to struggle. Jameson Williams is currently out injured. I don't know if he's going to be back. And then Khalif Raymond, who was filling in as the next guy up, he got injured as well. I think that was a bit more serious. So who's left on that offense? If they double team Amon-Ra St. Brown, then I'm not sure what the Lions have left. Can they just keep it close? And their defense hasn't been that good, so I don't think that game plan is going to work for them either.
I think the key player that a lot of people will probably miss, I think Kyren Williams will be a key player in this match because I don't think the Lions have the greatest run defense in the world, and he's been really good when he has played. I think there will be a lot of focus on Nakua and Cup, but for me, I played watching this game. I think it's Kyren Williams, the running back.
Yeah, running game and young players on the Lions. If they go behind, head might drop. I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Absolutely, but you're absolutely right, Adam. He will. The Lions will be fired up for sure, biting kneecaps and all that. Right, the final matchup we're going to talk about. It's the Eagles heading over to Florida to play the Tampa Bay Packers.
The Tampa Bay Packers? Is this a new team?
The Tampa Bay.
We're rebranding again.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not even a long day. It's been all right today. It's been all right. I don't know. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I might just get the Packers on the mind, maybe. But yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Stuart, what do you think here? The Eagles lost a bit of steam, or can they pick it back up?
They certainly have. The Eagles have lost a lot of steam. I think this is a really close one to call. I'm not really sure what's going to happen in this game. I think there's obviously two outcomes, but I think it's either if the Bucs win, it's going to be a close one, but the Eagles could absolutely steamroller them as well. I think it's that much of a swing could be in the game. I have a sneaking suspicion the Bucs being at home, they might be able to just grind something out here against the Eagles, who've been sputtering, and we've seen Jalen Hurts has been hurt. He's got his wonky finger, and there's just been a few things the Eagles have just from I think they were 10-1 at one point, and they ended up, was it 11-6? They're on a horrendous run. Things are starting to go in the way, and I fancy a little bit of Baker magic. I think Baker Mayfield might have one of those games where he's doing what he does best. Mike Evans, I think, will have a big game as well, and I think that's where the Eagles could be punished is at that corner position. I think that we're really seeing a downturn from their corners, the older guys now. I think Mike Evans might be the guy to punish them, and I think for me the Buccaneers with a 3-point game. How's that?
The Eagles badly want their season to end, don't they? I think that it's reached that stage, and they're in the playoffs. That's the sad thing about it. But it's just a wounded animal that sort of needs finishing. I think, unfortunately, at this stage, the one thing I think that would be the saving grace is a traditional Baker Mayfield game, and if he's not on form and turning the ball over, but equally he's going against one of the worst secondaries in the league and defenses throughout the season. So I think it's going to be interesting, but I don't back either of these teams to get particularly far in the playoffs for sure. Whoever goes this game, I think is going to be losing next week, unfortunately.
I mean, the Bucs being there and just sort of defaultly from a bad division, it seems from some perspectives, but they played well. They've got, they're still got great players. They're well coached. My mind goes back to the Seahawks with going into the playoffs with a losing record, and then they beat I think it was the Saints, a Drew Brees Saints team, went out to the Bears in the next round, Jay Cutler's team. So a long time ago. So there's teams coming out of bad divisions aren't necessarily just going to go out and be bad. I do have hope for the Bucs, not least because I don't think anyone's mentioned it. Jalen Hurts' finger, it probably still hurts. Really. If the Eagles are going to win, it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays with that finger.
Traditionally, the team, I know that the Bucs don't have a losing record, but the team that's that 4 seed that argues they should be on the road because they've won a really bad division, but they usually end up going and winning the playoff game because they have got the home advantage. So you mentioned about the Seahawks. It's happened at least once or twice other than that where they're massive underdogs.
Yep, we will see. I was just looking through Baker Mayfield stats, and he's either hot or he's not. It's crazy. He's either excellent or he's just not very good. But you're right. If you have one of them games, and it's like you say, it's certainly a secondary that you can have that game against. They've got every chance.
You've seen these quarterbacks who are not amazing, have playoff magic, sparkle dust, whatever you want to call it. You've seen it. You've seen Flacco do it. You've seen Eli Manning do it twice. They've not been the best quarterback in the world, and something happens in the playoffs. Could be Baker. You never know.
It's going to take more than 3 field goals to beat the Eagles.
It's a bit. I'm not saying Flacco was the best quarterback in the world, but when you've got someone who's steady but can get to that sudden level in the playoffs, compared to Mayfield, who can be again right under the bottom sort of thing. He's that bad at times, and very much not as Brian was saying in the hot or not example. So it's a bit different when there's that much of a variance in the quarterback play, I think.
We'll see if he wakes up feeling dangerous. That was him, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It just shows how badly you sometimes hold on to people you like before they were drafted. I'm still holding on that Baker Mayfield is going to come good yet. That's years proven he isn't. But you do hold on to these players that you did like prior to the draft.
He was a horrible player in college. I hated him.
There's no way he's a douche, though. Like, he's had a decent enough career that you can take that one.
He's turned the corner. He's not such a douchebag as he was back then.
Stopping the commercials these days.
I like them. They were all right.
At least he was better than Sam Darnold, but there's no way he was the best of those 5 quarterbacks from the first round in 2018.
No, but that's the magic of the NFL. Who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, have you mentioned it's draft season? How exciting! Us draft talkers will be kicking in with much more regular pods. And we've got a bit of a special one coming up soon. Do you want to give the guys a sneak preview?
Yeah, so we've got the majority of the picks locked in. With the first 19 picks we'll have at this point locked in. So we'll do a mock draft next week, looking at where we currently stand. Obviously, we've got the the playoff teams to figure out, but we can start thinking properly. We're not looking at scenarios anymore. We're thinking what could actually happen rather than what if. So yeah, exciting. Draft season is well and truly upon us.
Which will all change when the Bears trade or don't trade the first pick. Oh.
Yeah, true.
There's got to be so much talk about that until it eventually inevitably happens. Well, not happens. We'll see. But yeah, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for listening. Do enjoy the Wildcard weekend. Look forward to all the other pods. And that's it. Take care.